Stop movement and find no movement. Stop rest, and no rest comes instead. When rest and no rest both vanish, then even oneness disappears. In the previous verse, Sangsong stated that heart wisdom, the single heart, goes beyond all comparisons. In this verse, Sangsong illustrates this by using the opposites of movement and no movement. Why would Sangsong choose these particular opposites? I believe that this verse points to the Mahayana Mahaparinirvana Sutra, a text that had enormous impact in Chinese Buddhism. There existed a debate in China as to whether there existed some sentients who could not attain enlightenment. For nearly 500 years, Chinese debated this theological distinction. Then they translated the Mahayana Mahaparinirvana Sutra. In that sutra, it clearly states that all sentients will someday become enlightened, that all sentients without exception have Buddha nature. In that sutra, there runs a passage that my teacher, Zen Master Song Song, liked to quote as follows: "When appearing and disappearing disappear, that stillness means bliss." I suspect that Sangsong's reference to movement and no movement refers indirectly, yet clearly, to this passage. The primal dualism we experience as humans emerges as that between the changing and the non-changing. We experience change as movement. In our meditation, when the brain quiets down, we experience an awesome stillness, a no movement. If we then cling to this no movement, we become attached. Sangsong says earlier that if you attach to anything, you go far astray. So if we put a stop to this restful stillness, put a stop to this no movement, then no rest appears. But this release of no rest that emerges from releasing stillness/rest/no movement differs from the frantic activity of monkey mind. It represents the disappearance of both rest and no rest. It constitutes the non-clinging to non-clinging. By releasing release, we perfectly integrate/embrace the dualism of change and non-change. The paradox of the constancy of change resolves itself in the spaciousness of the heart which transcends and comes before all dualisms. Rest, no rest, movement, no movement, change, stasis. We find the place where they embrace in the release of all clinging. This release of all clinging means the wisdom of the heart. This condition of ultimate release means no boundary. In the vastness of no boundary, even oneness disappears. Oneness emerges primarily as an intellectual exercise, even an academic pursuit, an attempt to eliminate contradictions and paradoxes. In ultimate release, oneness disappears because the heart does not dissolve distinctions, but rather, in its vastness, has room for all things, even and particularly contradictories. From this perspective, the wisdom of the heart represents a kind of chaos when viewed from the point of view of the intellect. The intellect seeks to assert the exclusivity of categories, while the ultimate release/embrace of the heart encompasses all categories. I cannot put it better than Lao Tzu does in section 25 of the Tao Te Ching. Something mysteriously and chaotically existing, born before heaven and earth, silent and empty, standing alone and unchanging, ever present and in motion. We may call it the mother of the world. I do not know its name. I call it Tao. With reluctance, I call it great. Chaos can embrace both light and dark, heaven and earth, rest and no rest, movement and no movement, oneness and particularity. From it all things emerge. To it all things return. As it all things exist. It never changes and means constant motion. Constant motion means the constancy of all things. The wave of the heart beats as the kindness of this chaos, as the embrace of infinite compassion. I bow to this heart wisdom. I prostrate to this kind chaos. Endlessly I give thanks to all those who show the way of the great heart.